Welcome back to Ethereal. So I'm here today with Illia from Near Protocol. Illia, great to meet you. Thanks for having us here today. So I suppose we'll start with a bit of a generic explanation of what Near Protocol is, right? It's a smart contract capable blockchain. Can you explain to people watching today what that means?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me here. Yeah, let me give a quick high-level explanation. I would say the super high-level kind of what we're trying to build is like a pragmatic developer platform for Web3 or Open Web. This is a place where, as a developer, you can come in. You know that you can pretty easily build. You can actually onboard like kind of Web2 style users. Obviously use all the Web3, all the crypto, all the things embedded with this, smart contracts, all this logic, and you know that the platform underneath will scale, right? So to do that, like we have a sharding under the hood, like not kind of affecting your developer experience. We have a lot of we went our way to build like a really good developer experience that is compelling to a normal non-crypto developers that can like really quickly to start developing things. And we did a lot of work on kind of what we call account model to really make the experience of starting to use to create kind of all kinds of things out of what in blockchain we call accounts, but actually like it's full kind of ACL, like a model where you can give permissions, you can kind of sell your accounts, you can create companies, you can create DAOs and all kinds of stuff. So really kind of trying to build a platform that people can come, build something, build it for their users, and kind of know that it will work for them ideally, for coming decades.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Illia. And then in terms of, the story so far, right? We know that Near launched its mainnet last year. I think it would be really interesting if you could give us like a bit of an overview as, the journey that you've taken up to the point when mainnet was launched, and then, what's happened since then, and what are you looking to in the future?
For sure, yeah. I mean, super high level, like we started in middle 18. We actually were ourselves wanting to build an application on blockchain, right? We actually we're building a different startup. We built a crowdsourcing platform, and we wanted to use blockchain as a means of payment cross-border, because a lot of our kind of workers and people who are contributing to this platform were from countries like China, Ukraine, Russia, like Cuba, and all of them have some kind of capital control problems and all kinds of stuff. And so when we started looking at kind of Ethereum and other kind of platforms that were available back then, we were pretty disappointed on these three things that I mentioned, right? Like on how long it took like for us, for kind of experienced developers to understand how to build in this new kind of paradigm, to like how hard it was to use for normal users. And like, to be clear, like all of those things have been changing and evolving through, and like the whole space been learning how to improve it. But like back then it was like pretty far from kind of what normal users would expect. And obviously the scale, I mean, something that people kept talking, keep talking, and probably gonna continue talking for a while, but kind of really being able to address this problem that like the platform should not, like pretty much if you bring 1 million users, it should not become unusable and all those 1 million users leave, right? Which is kind of sometimes happens when you have limited capacity. And so we started with this idea of like, how do we make a more usable blockchain kind of in a very pragmatic way? How do we start with something that works and then start expanding, start adding kind of, making it more decentralized, make it more, faster, more performant, etc. So like there's a lot of development. We have this whole like YouTube interview with all the like a lot of protocols out there, like from Ethereum 2.0 with Justin Drake, Cosmos, Polkadot, to like all the other ones, and to really trying to both learn ourselves, surface some of the problems that they have, surface things that kind of we learned through this process, and like through that we actually been researching how to do scalability, how to do a lot of kind of this problem, how to address a lot of these problems. And so kind of we have current solution that's live right now. There's still a lot of work to do to kind of improving. I mean, sharding end up being a very complicated problem. but like, high level from my perspective and from, I think, perspective of a lot of people, even in the Ethereum community, sharding is kind of the way to scale, right? There's a way to actually keep expanding the capacity of the network in such a way that, you have things running in parallel instead of really like either running multiple chains, which are like completely independent, or just building a bigger machine so that, each block is kind of bigger. And so with that, I mean, I think like that research is not done, but like we have, a solution that is in the work, like kind of works and like build that out. And at the same time, we've been really kind of building this experience for developers, right? So we've been having actually people building since like end of 18. And one of the apps that's running right now on mainnet and one of kind of successful apps was built at an internal hackathon in end of 18 by one of the team members. They open sourced it and kind of it like evolved into a full app with like DeFi economy and farming and all the stuff. But like kind of the idea is like we always wanted to build, like we are builders ourselves. We want to build on our blockchain. We want to build the experience where we want to build on it. And so kind of fast forwarding to now, we have like few dozens of kind of, apps that are like running right now that, gaining users. Like I think we've 10x'd our usage over past like months or months and a half. Like starting to hit like hundreds of thousands transactions per day, kind of thing. Like just real transactions, people using stuff. Like actually the app we started with, the crowdsourcing, one of the community members actually built that and launched that, and it's super successful with people in Russia and like a few other countries, because you can earn like $30-40 per hour just like doing crowdsourcing, doing like data pretty much kind of collection. And it's available to normal people. Like you don't need to have MetaMask installed, you don't need to have crypto, you don't need to have any of this. You just begin, you start entering data, you earn from that crypto, and you through that start to learn all those things and like kind of all the private keys, public key stuff, all hidden from the user until they need to know about it. And so yeah, so this is where we are. There's a bunch of more stuff coming, obviously. One of the cool things is we've been kind of developing EVM as a kind of support. And like just for background, kind of back in 18, trying to build an EVM was actually really hard. And so we went with WebAssembly, which is something that all the browsers, all the kind of things are running. A lot of languages are supported for it. And so this allows to kind of onboard a lot of new developers outside of crypto. At the same time, with the boom in DeFi, with the boom in kind of people building stuff in EVM, it's pretty clear now that EVM is here to stay. And so we've started kind of developing it last summer. And so it's coming out. It's going to be framed as this project called Aurora. And it's actually like, it pretty much works as a layer 2 for Ethereum, including the transaction fees you'll be paying there will be in Ether. So it's really like designed to be like a very one-to-one experience. And it actually runs as a smart contract on Near. So we actually compiled EVM into WebAssembly and running it as a smart contract. And this just showcases how powerful the platform is, because it actually just allows you to run other things as kind of environments in it. And I mean, for people who are familiar with kind of ETH2 research, this is similar to the ideas of kind of this transaction environment that they were discussing.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Illia. And actually, one thing that's really interesting there, you mentioned the EVM and you've mentioned Ethereum throughout as well. There's a bit of an idea that goes around the crypto community, right? That Near is a bit of an ETH killer, right? Would you say that that's accurate? If not, why? And I'd also be interested to know a little bit more about who Near's competitors are. Are there any other companies out there or actors in this space that are trying to do what you do?
Sure, that's a reasonable question. I think the ETH killer kind of framing always been, I think, wrong for anyone, because I don't think anybody is trying to kill Ethereum because Ethereum, and to be clear, like I'm very clear what Ethereum 1 is, like about Ethereum 1. Ethereum 1 right now is kind of the place which proved the whole idea of smart contracts, which proves the whole idea of DeFi at this point, and is the place where all the assets and all the integrations and all the kind of attention It really is. And at the same time, it's not scalable. It's proof of work. It has kind of a number of limitations, but it's secure. It's proven. It's been around for 6 years now, and it's here to stay. From my perspective, it's here to stay. But there's a lot of kind of use cases and a lot of things that people wanted to build. And this is even back in 2017, there's been a lot of ideas how we can use blockchain to solve all kinds of problems around the world, but none of them are possible to do on Ethereum. And so kind of what we've been building, what a lot of other folks have been building, is really to augment Ethereum, to really expand this and provide the utility and kind of provide the place to build this new experiences that Ethereum kind of showcased it's possible, but is not the right place to do. Now, to be this extension, you need to support a lot of stuff. So one of the things we launched actually last month was a bridge to Ethereum, a fully trustless bridge that connects Ethereum and Near in a way where this obviously you can move assets, tokens, etc., but you can actually call smart contracts from one another. So in a way, it's actually indeed extends this kind of environment and makes them more interoperable. Same for EVM, right? It's now you can launch, for example, you can launch a DAO on Near, and because the way the bridge works is actually you can read the state of the other chain, right? So it's almost literally what it does, it runs a light client, the same thing that some of the wallets do. And so through that, you can actually verify and read state and other information from the other chain. So you can actually have a DAO that uses Ethereum balances to vote, and then make it based on this decision to actually call back into Ethereum and maybe deploy Treasury into something. So you can start extending literally applications and tokens and whatever else on Ethereum through applications on Near. And so I think that is kind of where we start, where we saw the kind of the first use cases, right, where people wanted to same for us, right? We wanted to build this crowdsourcing platform on Ethereum. It wouldn't work. Even back then, we were paying 15 cents per task, and the fees were 10, 15 cents. Now they're $30, right? This is just not a use case for Ethereum. And given it's DeFi focus, it's not gonna be. But it is use case, and you can package it, and you can earn a bunch of money from crowdsourcing, and then leverage Ethereum to do stuff there. So yeah, that's kind of overall just expanding this. I think competitor wise, it's a very interesting space to be from my perspective. On one side, we all kind of competing, right? Even with Ethereum, in a way, we're all competing, right? Because oh well, what if Ethereum changes this, or what if Ethereum, becomes sharded and whatever else, proof of stake. All those things they're working on. But at the same time, people just want to build. From my perspective, again, I'm a builder. I want to build experiences. I want to get people things in front of them. I want people to actually experience this vision we've been talking about, about creator economy, about open web, about communities that are able to communicate and participate through this permissionless way, right? Really give governance back to people. And to do that, right, we really just need to keep pushing the technology. We need to keep pushing the product, and we need to keep pushing people understanding all this stuff. And so from this perspective, we're all kind of working together, right? We have panels together, we have, we have educational videos, we have all those things together. And say, and then yes, we're competing on how things work, and we sometimes, don't agree with each other. But I think overall, as a whole space, our purpose is to build this whole vision. I think this is different from, companies which have maybe they're competing for the same market, but they're trying to maximize their shareholder value or whatever. Here we're not trying to maximize shareholder value. We're really trying to build this vision, and in this vision, there's place for everyone, right? There's so much value created that everything benefits from that. And I think that is that's what I'm excited about. This is more open source mentality than this competitive, cutthroat kind of business tactic.
Brilliant, thank you. One thing as well that I'm interested in is I know that NEAR has a commitment to carbon neutrality, and one of the biggest conversations within the wider crypto industry today is its impact on the environment. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your thoughts on that wider conversation that everybody seems to be having, and also a little bit about your position at NEAR and what NEAR does to mitigate some of those risks and your commitment to carbon neutrality as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so this is honestly like when I first learned about Bitcoin, that was my reaction, was like, there's just way too much wasted energy. I mean, not even from like perspective of the like the environment per se, but actually from perspective of kind of optimization. Like I'm coming from like applied math, machine learning, all about optimization. And like it cannot be that as the project becomes more successful, it needs more energy, like kind of to do the same thing. That just like does not make direct sense to me. That's why like I always kind of was against proof of work, even though I realize there's a lot of value in proof of work, to be clear, like from security to actually decentralization that it enables in the beginning. So that's why like proof of stake kind of as a way to pretty much secure the network and as a way to kind of build it up, like made so much sense to me, and like this is what we built on, and it comes to be like can be potentially like I think we're 100,000 times more efficient or like 1,000,000 times more efficient than kind of Ethereum mining, and obviously like this as network grows, as there's more validators, more shards running, this will keep expanding. But yeah, I think like the idea is like everybody's trying to become more environmentally conscious, and I mean honestly like even though we are kind of through the calamity that's very much here right now with Corona, but like the nature is it has some slack, but it's gonna pay us back with all the things we're doing. So I think like it's very important to start like kind of offsetting this. And yeah, so one thing is like obviously we want to offset like everything like NEAR as a network does. We started in more like kind of centralized way with like foundation doing it, but the idea is to actually start giving tools to the community and to validators directly to start offsetting this as well. And so we're working with Southpawl, which is an organization that kind of working on carbon neutrality, and we want to kind of provide tools to on chain to kind of both validators and other projects to start kind of become carbon neutral across the board. Because it's not just validators, it's also people. It's like when we had conferences, right? Like actually, like I think in our case, we had the offsite for the team that the flying people to offsite had more carbon emission than all the validators running for a year. So like that, there's actually a lot more things we need to do, and so we offset the whole thing. We offset not just validators, but actually all the addition of all the kind of also core team members, and like we're trying to build up how can we make it like more decentralized as well. So that I mean that's kind of where I see this going, and like just like people becoming more conscious about it, figuring out ways to track it and trace it, and there's like a lot of people want to be kind of, if we make it really easy for them to kind of choose the right option, right? Like giving them this right option, I think this will become kind of default. And then, we can start moving in the right direction. And like, we see that US is kind of like reverting their course and really getting back on track. So this is really exciting.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think we pretty much have about 2 minutes left. So I think we'll end on this. The biggest conversation that I think everybody is having, equal to the environment, perhaps, would be NFTs and the wider NFT boom. I'm interested to know in some degree what your thoughts are on that. Do you think that the NFT industry is maybe a bubble? Where do you see it going in the future?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on NFTs. We don't have enough time. I would just mention like there's a bunch of NFT projects that you should check out on NEAR. Few of them are launching. Like from my perspective, NFTs is actually like it's almost like actually bringing the data and metadata and relationships that we usually use in like relational databases and like normal services, and then like bringing the crypto to it, and then breathing life to it. And so like yes, it started as art. I think art is it's great. There's a lot of like there's royalties, there's all this programmability that makes art really interesting on chain, but the real kind of expansion and explosion will come from more interactive stuff, from more composable stuff, from lots of interesting things. So like one of the kind of applications on Near, they do kind of digital cards, but already they have like multiple games built on top of it that uses digital cards in the games. And then there's a project that does kind of, you can bind multiple NFTs into one and kind of make the NFT that has more effects and stuff like this. If you're interested in learning more, actually, we have a open web kind of summit and a hackathon, and you can learn like how to build all. There will be a lot of talks about like communities and kind of creators, NFT stuff. And this is actually starting in a week, May 14th. So check it out. It's partnering with Gitcoin, Dystopian Labs, and Seed Club. And so a lot of exciting stuff there. It's summit.openweb.community.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Illia. I think we're just about out of time. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to Ethereal this year. And I think, yeah, we'll take you back to Ethereal now.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.